Hey everyone, it's Wolvie from Loaded Bolter here for another episode of Rapid Fire, and it is my absolute privilege to have the Warmistress, or Tanya, depending on how you know her, with me today, helping me out as much as anything else. This is episode 4, I think. So just as we always do, I will do the rapid fire 15 questions, see how quickly you can answer them. And then we'll just go in and flesh out after that and get to know you more, which, I'm sure many people who are paying attention to this know you already, but they might find out something new. You never know.
Yeah.
So if you tell me when you're ready, I will start a timer and we will get going.
Oh, I'm so excited. I was born ready. Let's do this.
Let's do. Hang on, I had my questions in the wrong order. Let's get these in the right order. I know. Right. So your time begins now. How many years in the hobby?
8.
What game systems do you follow?
Warhammer 40k, Age of Sigmar, Necromunda, Kill Team, and Frostgrave.
Reel off all of your current armies.
I have Orks, Guard, Ogre Mod Tribes, Space Wolves. I have a Necromunda Escher Gang. I have a Dark Eldar Kill Team, and Slaanesh Demons.
Fantastic. What was your first miniature?
My first miniature, it was Blood Claws for Space Wolves. Nope, that's not true. It was Chaos Space Marine Cultists.
Okay. What was your first full army?
Full army, Space Wolves.
What model or unit have you enjoyed painting the most?
My Count as Gazgul.
What model or unit have you enjoyed painting the least?
My Helldrake.
What was the last model you completed?
Meganobs.
How much painting time would you say you get a week?
20 plus hours.
Wow, that's good. What is the current model you're working on?
Battle Wagon.
Single favorite thing about the hobby?
Table banter.
Least favorite thing about the hobby?
Gatekeeping.
Who or what got you into the hobby?
My friend who is now my husband.
What keeps you in the hobby?
The friends that I make along the way. Cheese.
And what is your one hobby target for 2021?
I want to complete my Orks.
Fantastic. That's those 15 questions. So the quickest so far was Katie in episode 3 at 1 minute 50. You did it in 1 minute 37 seconds. You are now at the top of the leaderboard. You absolutely rinsed through those. That's awesome.
Crushed it.
Did very well there. That's awesome. So one of the first questions I always kind of ask people is about expanding on that, how you got into the hobby. You obviously said it was a friend who became your husband. Tell me more about how that all happened and obviously getting into the hobby.
Well, we were friends, and when we sort of first met each other, he was sort of showing me around his place, and I saw these little miniatures on his painting table, and I was like, oh, these are so cool, right? Like, what are these? And they were Space Marines, so he's like telling me about it, and he's like, and there's a game that goes along with it. I was like, what? Like, I used to play board games and stuff with my dad and my mom, and so I was into it. So we played, this is in 7th edition as well. So we played like a bit of Floorhammer, sort of like getting me acquainted with the rules. And at the time, it could have been because it was 7th edition. I wasn't really into it, but I really liked the lore and painting. So friends, we became lovers, and then lovers, we got married, and I was just painting here and there sort of sporadically. And then I picked up another hobby, which was all life encompassing, and it was a sport. And then I got hurt. And then through getting a diagnosis for that injury, I found out that I have arthritis. So I wouldn't be able to go back to that sport without basically forcing myself to get a knee replacement surgery really young. So I was like, okay, I'm not going to do my sport anymore, but how else am I going to fill like 12 hours a week that and fulfill that like strategic and tactical side that I really loved about my game. So it's like, I'm just going to throw myself into Warhammer. And then, that was when 8th first came out. actually. So I was playing a little bit, I was painting a lot. I started my Instagram account, and it kind of like blew up. And then I just sort of like started like doing more and more, and then like I really started getting into 8th edition. So I was playing a lot and I was losing a lot. So I got I got a coach, and then through that I just really like loved playing the game. So I play the game, not as much now because I can't go to the game store for game nights, but I forced my husband to play with me, but he doesn't like this edition, so I forced him to play with me whenever he will. And I play on TTS quite a bit now too, which it's not ideal, but it's getting me through.
Yeah, I say a lot of us like over here, because we've had restrictions where we can't even play one-to-one games and stuff like that. So we've done a lot of Kill Team Arena on Zoom and stuff like that. It's kind of just rolling dice and doing whatever you can to get by, isn't it? Like,
yeah,
I forced my other half to play a game with me of the Harry Potter miniatures game, because I thought, I should connect with that. She beat me, but I don't think she enjoyed it too much. So
no.
it's the only gaming action I've kind of had throughout this whole pandemic, really.
Yeah.
But there we go. So you've got a variety of like models and armies. You said like you've got some Age of Sigmar stuff, Orks, Imperial Guard, some Space Wolves. What made you pick some of those armies? I think Orks is something that features quite prominently lately.
So I started with Chaos Space Marines and I painted a bunch, and I don't like painting the trim, like the spiky trim and stuff is not my thing. So I kept what I had painted, but I sold off the rest of my stuff that was unpainted. And then I started Space Wolves because I really liked the lore. That was back in 7th as well. And I have a small little bit of Space Wolves painted, but their play style at the time, like that super aggressive play style, wasn't really vibing with me. So I switched to Imperial Guard in the beginning of 8th up until very recently. And Guard was like a really big fit. It was a great fit for me. And I played that like exclusively for like 22 months, just nonstop, just like hammering out games. And I don't know what happened, but I think maybe it was like lockdown and not getting my games in or whatever. I was just like, not like, as soon as 9th hit, I was like, I'm not really feeling Guard anymore. Maybe because I just went so hard on it. So I wanted to try. It's so funny. I wanted to try a more elite army. So I picked Orks. But I have a partnership with a 3D printing, like a third party 3D printing company. So my Ork army is all third party, and it's donated to me, but it's more elite. So I'm testing out my lists and stuff on TTS for that, just painting away. But yeah, there's not going to be like hordes and hordes of boys, which is interesting.
Well, I can say that Orks have translated over to 9th well. One of our guys in Loaded Bolter has, at 2,000 points, I think they're unbeaten. And I've thrown everything at them over periods of time, as have so many other people. They're still good. If you roll enough dice, you can do all the things you want to. So
yeah, I mean, my list is really strange. I haven't had a chance to play it that much, obviously. I'm actually playing a game later tonight on TTS with my new list, but it's only got like 60 models or something in it, which for an Ork list, that's nothing really. But yeah, it's just a for funsies list to sort of reset. I will go back to Guard at some point, but right now I'm like on this Ork train.
And that'll get you. When you get a new army, it'll get you.
Yeah.
So, like, from some of your games, what would you consider to be, like, if you've got one or two like standout game moments where you kind of, something happens and you just think that is why I play the game, that is awesome. Have you got anything that kind of comes to mind?
Yes. So I can't actually really talk too much about it because it was filmed as a battle report, and that will be coming out either like end of this month or next month. But there's just so much weird stuff going on in that game. Like one character tanked so it was a guard list,
Yeah.
and like one measly little character tanked like melee attacks from like 3 Space Marine characters and like didn't die. And like stuff like that, to me, like that weirdness where like you can't account for it. It's not average dice rolls in any way, shape, or form, but you can really form a really awesome narrative around it. That's what I play the game for. That and table banter.
Yeah, I'm exactly the same. I don't play for like the competitive nature. I play because, you know, for great moments like that where something unexpected happens, something that shouldn't happen just happens, and you're like, that's awesome.
Yeah.
And obviously,
Yeah.
you know, when you get 1 or 2 people around a table and you just firing back and forth, and I'm sure people who don't understand Warhammer would look at it and kind of go, what are these people laughing at? I don't, but yeah, it's that good stuff. So
Yeah.
it's good to have that. So with you, obviously, and a lot of people, and I know it's a big subject that's come up again today, and it's something that when I kind of booked to talk to you, was something I definitely wanted to talk to you about anyways, was around 2 things really that are linked and not linked: gatekeeping and consent. So, you know, people sharing and taking things that and then putting them up to kind of get their own, I suppose, get their own following up, or to critique it without like, why are you copying my stuff to your page? And I know at the moment there's, and I will not name their names because they don't deserve it, but gatekeeping, it's something that really, really bugs me.
Yeah.
Like, what is your take on all of that, like, that happens? Because you obviously take it the other side. I only ever see it.
Yeah. I feel like for me, I'm in this unique place where I've been working really hard to make other people's opinions matter less and less. I have a great group of friends who are actually, I would say, some of the best content creators for Warhammer, who are like in my corner and willing to go to bat for me. And that makes me feel like I belong. But I try to call out gatekeeping whenever I see it, because there are some people who are coming into the hobby, you know, and if they experience that even once at the beginning of their gaming career, that could be enough to make them not come back ever and just think everybody in this stupid hobby is mean and doesn't want anything to do with new players and yada yada. And I don't want people to ever think that. I really feel like this hobby is for anybody who wants to do this hobby should be encouraged to do it. And the cool thing about this hobby is that it is so multifaceted, right? There's miniatures, obviously. You could paint them, you can convert them, you can just collect them, you could play the game, or you could just be into the lore or writing your own lore or whatever. And like all of those things on their own, that is the hobby. You don't have to do all of them in order to be a legitimate part of it. You don't have to even care about all of those aspects. And I really do feel that way. And I do feel that I do feel like more of us need to be outspoken against it when we see it.
Absolutely. And I think that, as because a lot of the gatekeepers are men, if not 99.9% of them are men, and it's usually against women, and that's just the way of it.
Women or trans or children or old people, somebody who doesn't fit what you think a war gamer looks like.
And it's a real issue, obviously. In this, I don't know of it being such a massive issue in terms of if somebody wants to get into, you know, a sport or anything like that, because I guess they don't see it. But imagine being so offended by somebody of the opposite gender taking up the same hobby as you. If you don't like it, just don't. It blows my mind that somebody thinks and has the arrogance to do that. And you know, I will make it absolutely clear that if any person is of the mind that somebody shouldn't play because of their age, gender, race, religion, belief system, whatever it might be, if you think that they can't play, don't be following me. Don't comment on anything that me or you know, Loaded Bolter do, because I'm not interested. And I think a lot of more male gamers need to, I suppose, not be afraid to stand up and say, you know, that's BS. You absolutely should not be doing that. And yeah, it's something that I guess it's like our own little battle within, you know, there's a lot going on in the world to bring up equality, and we've got our own in this hobby.
I do feel like almost all of the bad experiences that I personally have had in the hobby have been with people on the internet. And I'm not entirely convinced that the people who are causing an issue actually play the game.
Well, this is the example of the person most recently who's taken and putting a bunch of stuff up about oh, you know, girls in pictures with the miniature. Who gives a damn? I'm in pictures of me setting up miniatures. Are you going to gatekeep me? Like,
the thing that I don't understand is, like, it's the internet and there are hundreds of thousands of people creating content. So if one person is creating content that you don't like, you could just like look for something else. Like, it seems so funny to me that, or if you see content that you don't like, you can go out and make your own content, you know, because maybe there's other people who feel the same way as you, and maybe they would enjoy your content, you know. Like, it's just a really entitled way of thinking that other people need to make the content you want, and that's not the case. And yeah, in terms of if somebody wants to take a selfie with their mini or not, who cares? Like, it literally, like, for me, there is some content that I don't enjoy, right? And like, I don't have to enjoy all of it, but at the same time, I could just not look at it. You know, I'm not going to sit here and be like, you need to change for me, right? There's, you know, hundreds of people who are finding enjoyment and value in that content. I can just, you know, go on my merry way. I don't have to say anything about it.
Yeah,
you know what
I
I
think
mean?
for some people it's that psychological element, like any attention's good attention. So if I'm gonna be the bad guy, you know, because that gets me attention and I get to do this, that, and the other. And some people are gonna think I'm cool, and otherwise that, yeah, it's just, like you say,
Being mean is not cool, people.
there's just no need for it. Like, I was
No.
always taught, and there's something that I think is quite good. Manners cost you nothing, but they can cost you everything. And I think that's that's clear in this lately. And it sucks that, you know, that so many, you know, women have to, and trans and stuff like that, have to go through that just because they happen to like painting small things and throwing dice. Like, it's just such a pathetic way for people to gain attention, and that's all it is. You're piggybacking off them and perhaps the success they might have, because they might have a few thousand followers and you've got 20 and you want to get yours up. You know, it's pathetic, but something that I hope that, you know, can be stamped out. And I'm glad that when obviously all the conversation around race was going on, Games Workshop made their stance pretty clear. You know, if you don't think that somebody belongs in this hobby, it's chances are you don't belong in this hobby. I think that, you know, if they saw half of the gatekeeping that goes on, I would like to think that they would re-establish that.
I still do get comments from people sometimes, because I am quite vocal about people just be nice, or if you have nothing nice to say, just move along, you know. And I'm quite vocal about it, and I still do get comments like, well, I've never seen it before, you know. And yes, but are you looking for it, right? Like for instance, I got a comment on my post today where, you know, we've seen this behavior on the post, and somebody said, well, I've never seen this before. And I said, normally I would engage with you on this, except that you can literally scroll down in these comments and you can see my point being exemplified. So I'm not actually going to engage in this conversation, but if you'd like to, you can go read for yourself and see that we do need to have this conversation still.
Yeah, absolutely. And I think perhaps people don't necessarily know in their mind what constitutes, you know, gatekeeping behavior and that sort of thing. So perhaps they kind of think, well, you know, you're not saying anything particularly rude, but sometimes a comment as hurtful as, oh, you get more followers because you're female and in the hobby, that can really, you know, that might feel innocent to the person saying it in some respects, but actually that can be really hurtful to the other person, because it devalues the work that they're putting in, and the work that they've done. And they might just be more interactive than you are. They might just be a better painter, and all of these things are true. So
I always like to, because I get that comment quite a lot. And I always like to drop my weekly schedule on those people to be like, yes, it absolutely has nothing to do with the fact that I'm literally making content every single day and on multiple platforms. And this is my life. And on top of that, I'm an okay painter, like I'm not like gonna win a golden demon, but like I choose good colors and I put effort into my painting, and I know how to light a photo. So really, yes, I'm going to say, sure. I'll just always agree with them. I'll be like, yeah, sure. It's just because I'm a woman.
yeah.
But in the grand scheme of things, like nobody sees the work that goes on behind the scenes.
And it's just one of those quick, ignorant views that it's just because of this. And it's not always that way. I know, there's plenty of accounts out there where you can't tell if the account is male or female, and they've got plenty of following. So because they don't put themselves in the photo, some people aren't comfortable doing that. It's just it's just one of those things. So going back to the other side of it, then speaking about consent, I think I saw something, I think it was a couple of months ago, where I think it was Games Workshop themselves, wasn't it? The Warhammer community page that sort of like took a bit of a liberty and didn't realize their own mistake.
Yeah.
So, where how's that been for you recently in terms of like consent and use of your stuff?
It's just like an odd, like in general, I don't mind if people reshare or whatever. It was just really odd to ask, because basically Games Workshop took my photo, and they put like a comment that says, could we use your photo, right? And they did this because of the time difference. It came through while I was asleep. So then I wake up to a bunch of messages that say, oh, it looks like GW wants to use your picture, right? So me, because of the situation, I'm going to go and respond no. But I decided to just have a look to see, why did they choose this photo? Which I'm sure we'll talk about why I would question this. Why would they want to do this? So I go on the website to see what other kind of things that they've shared under this particular category, and my photo's already up there. What's the point of asking for consent if you're not going to actually wait for it, right?
And
asking for consent and actually getting consent are not the same things.
No.
So yeah, I was just like, it was funny, and then I was angry, and now it's funny again.
Yeah, I think it's probably their eternal arrogance that most people go, oh my God, Games Workshop want to use my thing on their website. Yes, absolutely, use it. So they're probably used to, again, 99 times out of 100, people going, yeah, if you think it's good enough, use it, and then showing off their model being on the website. But yours was a very unique situation. Like they should have recognized that they probably shouldn't use that model.
Yes, like it is a third-party 3D printed model that is it's basically, from what I understand, because I actually talked to so this model was a gift to me. So nobody paid any money for it. But as I understand it, the man who designed it because he bought an actual Forge World Cyclops demolition vehicle, and he was unhappy with the quality of the model when he received it. So he's like, I think I can design something better. So he did. He designed his own third-party STL file, and it's not the same tank. It is close. I will give you that. It is close. But the treads are different. The plaque on the front is different. Like there's enough things that are different on it that I would think that the company would recognize that, especially the treads. The treads are like completely different on it.
There's a difference between, I suppose, like looking at a model and going, oh, that's an awesome conversion, version of what we've done, rather than that's entirely different.
Also, there's like really blatant 3D printing lines on it. If anybody doesn't know how 3D printing works, it's like basically like layering down product to build a model. And this particular model had very, very blatant 3D print lines on it. So that in itself, like I would think if I were working for GW, I'd be like, huh, that doesn't look like our usual quality.
They've they've clearly missed that there. So,
Mm.
but hopefully that's kind of taught them a little lesson. You like to hope that, you know, there was a little circular email inside the company went around and goes, please double check.
Yeah. Yeah, or
before
just
before
wait, you know, just wait a couple hours for people to get back to you. It's all good, right?
Yeah,
So
I mean, obviously the person who found the model wanted to get it uploaded, and you know,
I get it. I
that's on
get
them.
it. There's not that many of them out there. The model itself is like the rules are terrible. Nobody's using this model. I get it. But yeah.
Yeah, it's no less frustrating. So, what is it like for you being within the hobby a semi-recognizable figure? How do, like, how do you find that, or have you found that?
I haven't really found that.
No,
I haven't really found that. I mean, so like since I've only done like 3 tournaments since starting like my Instagram account, which is my first home on the internet, I'll say. And like obviously that's the one where I have like the biggest following or whatever. Um it's funny because I think that I'm more well known in like the content creators side of things rather than the content consumer side of things.
yeah.
Um so yeah, I don't know, I haven't really found that yet. I mean, maybe it would be different if I went to like a tournament outside of my local. Um but like I know sort of everybody
Yeah,
that
and I
goes to
kind
tournaments
of,
and stuff.
I hope that, you know, she won't mind me saying this, but Katie, who was in episode 3, when I kind of told her after filming had stopped, you know, she was like, "Oh, who have you got lined up next?" And I said, "Oh, I've got Tanya. You know, she might know her as the Warmistress." And she was like, "Oh my God, she's like an idol to me." And that's what made me come up with that question, because I thought, well, I happen to be interviewing this one person, and I'm not saying that everybody thinks that, but you know, there's people out there who, you know, love your content and think that you're great, and you're obviously helping them into the journey when they have experienced, you know, gatekeeping issues and things of the like. So,
Mhm.
you know, if that's the first you're hearing that somebody thinks you're some kind of Warhammer icon, then you know, you heard it here first.
Yeah, I mean, yeah, that's crazy to me.
I mean, it's a good thing. So, so kind of using that then, if you think about yourself just starting out and now look at yourself 8 years on and everything that you know, what piece of advice would you give yourself as you were starting out?
Um, that's a really tough one because like it's advice that I'm still taking now and I'm still trying to really learn now. But it would probably have to be something along the lines of those people on the internet who are saying really mean things about you, like you don't belong, you'll never be able to learn how to play the game, and just being really big dirtbags. I would tell myself back then that those people are not indicative of what the hobby is actually like. I would tell myself that I should go down to the game store immediately and play a game with somebody because that the anxiety that those people caused, the damage that those people caused, they shouldn't be given that power. And the friends that I have made through playing with war dollies are some of the best friends that I have ever made.
I've
And
never heard them called war dollies. That's going to become my favorite thing now.
um they're just some of the best people, and I wish that I would have met them sooner, honestly, instead of letting jerks and anxiety keep me away for like 6 years.
Yes,
So
and that, yeah, and nobody wants. Well, I like to think that nobody wants anybody to feel that way, but just a very small minority do, and unfortunately, that small minority get a big voice sometimes. So coming to the end now, I've only got a couple of questions left, trying to keep it around under the half an hour mark. But you touched upon what your biggest aspiration is for, the 2021. What are some of your other like aspirations for the next, say, 12 months? Within the hobby and content creation and things like that?
um, I feel like in terms of content creation, last year was like my setting up period. It's like the period where I was putting all the puzzle pieces into place so that I could just basically springboard into making content this year. So in terms of my goals are really just to stay the course. So I'm going to keep to the schedule. I am going to just consistently put out content. And for people who don't know, I am on almost every platform. So
luckily with the same name on all of them pretty much.
yeah,
So that
yeah,
definitely helps having the brand. I know when we set up Loaded Bolter, the first thing we did was, even if we don't use Facebook, even if we don't use this, go out and secure them all.
yeah. Yeah. So I'm set up so that I have like a weekly schedule. It's ridiculous how much stuff that I actually do. And I'm not joking when I say that I paint like 20 hours a week. Because I paint 6 hours in the mornings on Twitch with Scardcast, and I paint 5 hours on my own Twitch as well. And that's on top of like all of the painting that I do for myself. But yeah, so like just keep to the schedule, stay the course. I want to continue on. So I've just been gifted a higher tier of coaching with my coach. So I'm gonna like do the coaching stuff, and I want to play more games. So
hopefully, as the pandemic lifts and each country obviously changes their restrictions and hopefully lessens them as people get vaccinated and things like that, we're around, well, we're not that far away in the UK in terms of being able to get around the table with at least one other person and play. I think that's literally next month, so that will be awesome. And then hopefully by kind of May, well, they say April, I don't think it'll be April, but I think around, hopefully by the summertime, you'll be able to have a good hobby day with plenty of your friends around.
Yeah, that's why I'm using Tabletop Simulator. I'm really not good at it. It has a bit of a learning curve to it, but just in case things, continue on for a little bit longer, I just want to get my games in. So Tabletop Simulator is how I'm doing it, and because I don't have the face-to-face interaction when I'm playing Tabletop Simulator, it actually does like. It's like I have to face my social anxiety all over again. So I'm struggling through it. I've been having small games, and I've streamed one. So I'm getting there, and I think that this is going to be a really great tool for me in my development as a player as well.
Well, it's just another platform for you to, like you say, overcome whatever anxieties you may have in certain situations.
They are considerable anxieties. Let me tell you.
It's the same as I told you kind of before we started filming, that my anxiety about this isn't about the interaction and talking back and forth. It's that awkward intro and awkward outro. While somebody just you just kind of feel a bit. Yes, and that's one of mine that I've kind of got to overcome. And as I do more videos and get used to the platform, that's what will happen for me. And obviously, the same will be for you. It will just, you'll get used to it, and it'll just, if it's one of those things, like anxiety goes away or lessens if nothing bad happens.
Yeah, you have to face the thing that makes you scared.
Yes.
Over and over and over again, and it gets less and less powerful as you do it more and more. So.
Yeah. So my last question, and I always like to make it non-hobby related.
Oh, okay.
As such. So it's about, what are your interests and hobbies away from this one?
Okay. Well, my sport that I had before was literally my entire life, and that was roller derby. But now I can't do that anymore. So now hobby is my entire life. But I do enjoy, as much as my knees allow me to, I enjoy hiking. I enjoy playing first person shooters with my husband. And I enjoy reading quite a bit, which is still hobby related because mostly what I read is Black Library. But I do enjoy reading quite a bit, but I don't really have too much outside of hobby.
Well, if you're dedicating, 20 plus hours of painting a week and things like that to it, then I'm not surprised. But
I mean,
roller derby, even though it's not as big over here, I used to work with somebody who did that, and she came with all kinds of injuries and bruises and things like that. So I certainly know how physical that can be. And it's quite a spectacle to kind of watch. She showed me some videos that like her team kind of put up, and I was just like, that's really awesome. I'd never heard of it before she mentioned it, but
does listening to music count as something that you're interested in outside of hobby?
I would absolutely say so. If you're like me and you try and get to as many concerts as things will allow, and you can't get by without music on a near daily basis, then yes, absolutely it does.
Okay, cool. I listen to a lot of music.
So what are you painting? What's your painting music? What's your sort of like go-tos that you kind of get lost in?
I like a whole bunch of different stuff, but metal is like my thing. I kind of go on like binges of stuff. So, but metal, drum and bass, trance is really good for painting. Those are like my three sort of go-to ones. But like even within the genres, I'll go on like an artist binge. So right now I'm on like a Devin Townsend binge. So like everything that I'm listening to is like this weird like epic, like everything is epic and weird, and so
I see. For me, I've always found like Evanescence. I don't know what it is about them, but their music when I'm painting, especially if I'm painting something that's Imperium based, I think I don't know, it just seems to fit the theme for some reason. It's like I don't know why, but that's one of my little go-tos.
It just tickles your lizard brain in such a way that you can just get into painting.
Absolutely, just kind of get lost with it. Well, that's all the questions I had for you. So all I've really got to say to you is obviously thank you for joining me in this, and thank you for, not that the people will necessarily know, but thank you for the help you've given me off camera, certainly to try and learn some new things. And obviously we'll keep up with your journey as you keep building content and making more, and hopefully you'll do the same.
Oh, thank you so much. And if you need a hand with anything, I love to be helpful to people, so just reach out to me.
I absolutely, just as I did for this, I absolutely will not be afraid to say Discord's not working for me, please help. I'm sure I will come to you for bits in the future.
Perfect.
Thank you very much.
You're very welcome.
Cheers.